So I'm watching. This is a documentary made with Leo DiCaprio and National Geographic in partnership. Uh, it appears to be a series of interviews about. So far, I've only watched the first 13 minutes about climate change, as well as a narration by Leo about his research into climate change. Thought that occurs to me is that as I was growing up and as I was going through my teenage years and early 20s, trying to figure out, sort of in the context of like, oh, I was a conservative Christian being raised in a Christian high school in a Christian nation, uh, then also on the internet, aware of global warming and climate change, seeing fires happen here in Colorado every summer, thinking about photography and how fun it would be to document cities as they are now, all along the coastlines of the entire world. Some of the most important art and architecture and creations of mankind in the world. In fact, all of them are along coastlines because that's how human societies have developed. For 99% of human civilization, we have needed to be by a water source, which means that coastlines are super populated. And inland areas, like Colorado, is a rare exception in the world and only exists. Cities in Colorado can only exist because of huge infrastructure development that the United States made in the early 1900s. Many other countries, many other continents did not make those infrastructure developments. So if you look at, say, the continent of Africa and where people live in Africa, just around the border, literally no people, like statistically speaking, live inland in Africa. Very, very few compared to the borders. It's crazy. So anyway, total tangent, but our cities are the most important things we've made as societies, and they are very, very at risk by rising sea levels, by huge weather pattern changes, and all sorts of natural disasters that become more likely when the temperature of the Earth rises, thanks to CO2, making global weather patterns change by heating up the global atmosphere slowly over time. Faster thanks to humans, right? So this was something that I came across and just seems like obvious and urgent and terrible when I was a teenager. But I was surrounded by adults who did not care about it, a world that did not talk about it. It is awesome to see. I mean, now there are exceptions. There's Al Gore, he wrote a book about it. There's Bill McKibben, who's been working on getting word out literally since the 1970s about, like, he coined the term global warming in reference to human-caused climate change. So people who are adults sometimes care a lot about this, but they talk, compared to everyone else, like crazy people, and no one takes them seriously. When scientists announce that, like, sea levels would probably rise several meters, that's several, like, heights of a human, in the next 50 years, wiping out 80% of coastal cities, unless we somehow levy them, that should have been national news for probably a year and a half. And it, like, barely got a mention on the nightly news the night it came out. But, like, that hit me hard as someone who cares about discovering the world and learning more about what humans have done. And learning about my context in the world, especially when I was young and I was trying to figure out what all this meant. So it was extremely frustrating to hear things like that, confusing I suppose is a better word, and then see little or no reaction to it. And I think it's because, here's the point of this video, the struggle is not finding out what is true and real, what is important. The struggle is not determining, I mean, we have the scientific method. It's very, very simple with controlled trials and with good, like, study methodologies. It's very easy and simple. We have had it down for hundreds of years now to figure out what is actually going on, what the causes are of things, and then engineer around them. That's why we're so good at doing so many things like building rockets and cars and boats and ships and houses and cities, etc. Right? We are good at engineering, we are good at science because we can figure out how things work. The problem is not finding out how things are working, what is true, if we are doing a thing that is bad. That is not the problem. We got that solved. The problem is getting people's attention and then making it seem urgent and real so that they care about it. That is a problem that every single issue, every single idea has attention. It's not, convincing someone the reality of it. It's getting their attention, explaining why it's urgent, explaining why people should get up off their asses and change their routine and do something about it, not even on an individual level, but as a nation. It's hard. I mean, I just went canvassing today. You saw that in a previous video. And, it is surprising and counterintuitive for people who are my age, who grew up in the age of the internet, that it is extremely likely that someone will vote when another person comes to their door and says, hey, have you voted yet? Versus the opposite, where no one does that. People are 7 times more likely just because someone showed up at their door to cast their ballot. And so, it's not a ton of effort to go canvassing, but the impact is incredible. You wonder about, the President of the United States, why he went canvassing in Florida today? Because his job as president is to have the best information in the world and to make decisive, important decisions regarding that information to effect change on important issues. That's literally his job description. And if he thinks, with the best information in the world from some of the most powerful organizations that serve him, that canvassing in Florida today is important, can you imagine that that's actually a waste of time? No, probably not. He's probably doing something really, really incredibly important that is meaningful and helpful and will actually swing the election. And each and every one of us can do that sort of thing. The real trick of it, the real problem that humans have, all businesses, all individuals, all ideas, is marketing. It's the struggle of getting someone's attention and changing their behavior. And that, I think, is the unsolved riddle of the 21st century. How do we make the things that deserve people's attention really grab people's attention? Right now, we're really good at spending our attention on things that don't need our attention. That is basically the definition of the first 20 years of the internet. It will be interesting to see if during my lifetime the internet gets better at helping us spend our attention on things that matter and make moves, do things that are effective toward creating the world we want to live in, making the world better. That is what I think the internet is most capable of. That's why I talk about things like Bridge. That's why I am always so curious to learn things and understand the world better. Because somewhere there is an answer to how do we spend our attention well. Because there are things that deserve our attention. And if we can find out how to spend our attention well as a society, as human beings on this planet and other planets soon, we will have solved one of the biggest engineering challenges in human history. Thank you for watching this 8-minute video of my thoughts while I'm watching another video. I'm going to get back to it. Maybe make some hot chocolate first. I hope you're having a good night. If you haven't checked this out, link in the description. Go watch it. I hope I remember to put the links in the description. I've said that so much recently, and I don't remember putting any links in any descriptions. Anyway, yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.